start, I wanted to thank everyone who's here today. It's truly amazing to see so many people to pay their respects to such a great man. Clearly, he touched everyone who is here in some way. I know that if you were here today, you would be in awe and be very moved and touched to see such an outpouring of support. I knew several months before today that I would be compelled to speak at his funeral service. I knew that he needed to go out strong. And because he was always there for me throughout my entire life, I had to make sure that he was accurately represented. I first thought of the idea of speaking to everyone when my father was diagnosed in early September. At that time, in an attempt to ready myself and to prepare for his eventual demise, I tried to envision myself standing here and what I would say. Not just to memorialize him, but also to prepare myself for the day I had to say goodbye to my best friend. I don't think anyone imagined that it would only be 4 short months, but here we are. My initial idea was that I wanted to say something to everyone to somehow convey how great my father was. To say something about his life that would leave everyone with an inability to forget for the rest of their lives how great he was. I wanted to provide a truly great moment and send-off that would create a lasting impression with everyone. I wanted everyone to feel exactly how I feel about it. As I began to think of how I would do this, I ran into some trouble. I thought about my dad's life. I thought about his accomplishments. I thought about our life growing up. Not that my father wasn't a truly awesome man, but I couldn't really think of any certain thing that would provide the lasting imprint that I saw. How could I make a grand and awesome statement about him when by all accounts, and if standing on the outside looking in, his life seemed fairly average? My father was not exceptional in any certain thing. He wasn't rich. He wasn't famous. Just 2 kids, a wife, and a house. He worked a 9-to-5 job for most of his life. The fear had occurred to me that he was just another guy. It was then that I realized this couldn't be true, and that maybe if looking at his life as a whole, maybe it didn't seem quite average. Maybe I needed to look at the individual parts of his life. When I did this, I recognized my father's best qualities could not be looked at as a whole, and it was there that his greatness appeared. My father was great at many things, but many small things that clearly, when added together, made him exceptional. My father was a great listener. He was the kindest-hearted man I've ever known. He was rarely aggravated. My dad's advice was always spot on. He knew just what to say and just how to say it. It didn't matter who you were or how far you had strayed from a proper path in life. My father would try to help, and his advice was as good as gold. My father raised 2 children, 2 very fine children. He was able to see and get to know his grandchildren. He traveled the country with his wife. He built his dream house. He bought his truck and his tractor, 2 of his lifelong ambitions. He had infinite dreams and plans with his life. His laugh was unmistakable and cannot be replicated. My father, depending on who you ask, was a great driver. There were more than a few instances where I questioned his vehicular capabilities, but I always trusted he would get everyone there safe. In all actuality, he probably should have been a race car driver. My father was the greatest father I could have ever had. Dad touched many people in his later years. He drove for the Amish community, many of whom he grew to know and always spoke so highly of. I can't thank them enough for all of their generosity, friendship, and everything they did for my parents. My father was a very loved man. He was surrounded by loved ones right up until the moment of his passing. One of his last true conversations was with a dear friend, for anonymity's sake, named Melvin. I could not be more thankful for the gift of that conversation. Not only to provide comfort for Dad, but to give the gift of some of my father's last words to someone so special and close to the family. We learned from Melvin that Dad was not afraid to meet God. Shortly after diagnosis, my father bonded with a great friend of mine and my wife's. We'll call him Rich, again for anonymity. Initially, the bond began because Rich's 9-year-old son also has leukemia and is actually a patient of my wife's. Rich first met Dad in the hospital while on a business trip to Michigan and was compelled to drive 4 hours to meet him for the first time. During this meeting, they spoke about life, God, marriage, children, and shared many stories of the past. I'm not entirely clear about the details of the conversation, but Rich, to this day, swears that Dad was an angel. Rich also described the conversation they had as a gift that he will unwrap and enjoy for the rest of his life. This is the epitome of who my dad was, an angel sent from heaven to touch our lives, but only for a time. He touched all of our lives in many ways. It is very difficult to convey what Doug meant to our family. We were all so blessed to have known him for however long or short of a time. I will not end this memorial with some inspirational words to live by or motivational life lesson. I only ask that if you know somebody battling for life, battling for their own life or anyone's life, to please reach out to them, hug them, pray for them. We as a family have been amazed by everyone's generosity and encouragement. It really means so much. We want to thank you all for your support. Please hug your loved ones a little tighter today.